His customers knew him as the quiet cook who smiled instead of talking. Artificial intelligence recognized him as the world's most dangerous intelligence operative. Both were right. Welcome to AI Human Stories. Before we dive into this incredible tale of hidden identity and how technology uncovered America's most classified secret, tell me in the comments what city you're watching from today. And if you believe some stories are too important to stay buried, hit that subscribe button. Tony's Diner sat on the corner of 5th and Main in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Nothing fancy, just red vinyl booths, a cracked linoleum floor, and the smell of bacon grease that had soaked into the walls over 30 years. Behind the grill, every morning at 5 a.m. sharp, stood the owner, Tony Rosetti. 65 years old, thick grey moustache, hands that moved with the precision of someone who'd been flipping eggs since the Carter administration. Tony didn't talk much. Customers would order, he'd nod, cook their food, and slide it across the counter with a smile. The regulars liked him. Quiet guy, good cook, minded his own business. Perfect small-town diner owner. What they didn't know was that Tony Rosetti wasn't his real name, and he understood every single word they said, in whatever language they said it. The first hint came from Maria Santos, a visiting professor from Guatemala. She'd stopped in for coffee, talking rapidly in Spanish on her phone about some academic conference. Family drama, research problems, visa issues, typical expat complaints. When she hung up, looking stressed, Tony quietly slid a fresh cup of coffee across the counter and said, in perfect Spanish, "The visa office opens at 9. Building's 2 blocks north, 2nd floor. Tell them Professor Martinez sent you. They know me there." Maria stared. This was Iowa. The cook at a roadside diner had just given her detailed immigration advice in flawless Guatemalan Spanish. "How did you?" she started. Tony just smiled and went back to the grill. A month later, Viktor Petrov, a Russian trucker making a cross-country haul, stopped for breakfast. He was arguing with his dispatcher on the phone in rapid Russian. Something about a delayed delivery, customs problems at the border, threats to dock his pay. When Victor hung up, clearly frustrated, Tony brought over his order and said quietly, in native-level Russian, "Border delays at Laredo can be fixed with the right paperwork. There's a customs broker named Johnson who specializes in expedited processing. Tell him Alexei recommended you." Victor nearly choked on his coffee. "You speak Russian? In Iowa?" Tony shrugged. "Pick up things here and there." But it wasn't just Spanish and Russian. Over the years, regular customers started noticing things. Tony could handle French tourists, German engineers, Japanese businessmen, Arabic-speaking medical students from the university. Always the same pattern. He'd listen politely to their conversations, then quietly offer help or advice in their native language. The locals made jokes about it. "Old Tony must watch a lot of foreign movies," they'd say. "Probably one of those language tapes from the library." They had no idea they were eating burgers cooked by a man who spoke 12 languages fluently and could disappear into any culture on Earth without leaving a trace. Dr. Amanda Chen ran the Linguistics AI Laboratory at Iowa State University, just 40 minutes from Cedar Rapids. Her team was developing voice recognition software that could identify native speakers, detect accents, analyze speech patterns. The program was funded by a Department of Defense grant. They wanted AI that could spot foreign agents, identify linguistic markers, catch people pretending to be something they weren't. Amanda's graduate student, Jake Morrison, lived in Cedar Rapids and ate at Tony's Diner every Tuesday morning. Study breakfast, coffee, pancakes, and cramming for his comprehensive exams. One Tuesday, he brought along a voice recorder for his research project. He was supposed to collect samples of natural conversation in public spaces, feed them into the AI system, see how well it could identify regional accents. The diner was busier than usual. Maria, the Guatemalan professor, was back, talking to Tony in Spanish. Victor, the Russian trucker, was at the counter, chatting in English with a heavy Slavic accent. A French couple was arguing over a map at table 6. And in the middle of it all, Tony was moving between conversations, switching languages like he was changing radio stations. Jake's recorder caught everything. Back at the lab, he fed the audio into their most advanced AI analysis system. The program was designed to identify linguistic patterns, detect native versus non-native speakers, spot inconsistencies that might indicate deception. What it found blew Jake's mind. The voice patterns showed not just fluency in multiple languages, but something much rarer: native-level accent control. The AI detected micro-variations in speech that indicated deep cultural immersion, years of practice at sounding like a local. But here's what really set off alarms. The system flagged speech patterns consistent with intelligence training, specific linguistic markers that showed up in government language programs, vocal techniques used to blend into foreign environments. According to the AI, the diner cook wasn't just multilingual. He was trained in operational linguistics, the kind of language skills they taught spies. Jake brought his findings to Dr. Chen, who immediately understood the implications. This wasn't just academic curiosity anymore. This was potentially a matter of national security. "You're telling me there's a man in Cedar Rapids who shows linguistic markers consistent with intelligence training?" Amanda asked. According to the AI, yeah. The system says his voice patterns match profiles of deep cover operatives, multiple native-level identities, accent switching, operational linguistics. Amanda made a phone call. Not to the local police, not to the FBI field office, but directly to a contact at Langley she'd worked with on classified projects. 3 days later, a black SUV pulled up outside Tony's diner at closing time. 2 people got out. A man in an expensive suit who looked like he'd never eaten at a roadside diner in his life, and a woman with sharp eyes who scanned the parking lot like she was expecting trouble. They walked in just as Tony was cleaning the grill. "We're closed," Tony said without looking up. "We're not here for the food," the woman said. Tony's hands stopped moving. He set down his cleaning cloth and slowly turned around. "Agent Sarah Collins, CIA Operations," she said, showing her credentials. "This is Deputy Director Marcus Webb. We need to talk." Tony looked at them for a long moment. Then he untied his apron, hung it on a hook, and said, "I figured someone would show up eventually." They sat in a booth in the back, the same one where Victor the trucker usually ate his breakfast. Tony poured coffee for all 3 of them, his hands steady as a surgeon's. "The AI system at Iowa State flagged your voice patterns," Collins said. 12 languages, native-level fluency, operational linguistics training. So either you're the world's most gifted short-order cook, or you're someone we've been looking for. Tony sipped his coffee. "Depends on who you're looking for." Webb leaned forward. "We're looking for Agent Anthony Rosetti, CIA Operations Division. Deep cover specialist, missing since 1987. "Missing?" Tony raised an eyebrow. "I've been right here for 30 years. "Officially, Agent Rosetti was killed in a car bombing in Beirut," Collins said. "The agency held a memorial service. There's a star on the wall at Langley with your name on it." Tony's expression didn't change. Maybe he was killed. Maybe Anthony Rosetti died in that bombing, and Tony, the diner owner, was born the same day. Webb pulled out a classified file, pages thick with redacted text. "Operation Nightingale, Beirut, 1987. You were running assets in 3 different countries, spoke Arabic like a native, had covers as a Lebanese businessman, a Syrian journalist, and a Palestinian relief worker." "That's a lot of maybes," Tony said. Collins opened a tablet, showed him surveillance photos from the 1980s. Young man with dark hair, no mustache, but the same eyes, the same way of holding his shoulders. "The facial recognition match is 94%, she said, but the voice analysis is what gave you away. 37 years later, you still carry vocal patterns from languages most people have never heard of." Tony was quiet for a long time. Outside, a semi-truck rumbled past on the highway, probably driven by someone like Victor, someone just trying to make an honest living without anyone asking too many questions. "Why now?" he finally asked. "I've been here 3 decades. Haven't bothered anyone. Haven't used any of the old skills. Why drag me back into that world?" Webb closed the file. "Because we need you." "There's a situation," Collins said. Human trafficking ring operating through the Midwest. International operation. Russian mob, Central American cartels, Middle Eastern facilitators. They're using truck stops, diners, places like this as communication hubs. Tony's eyes sharpened. And you think they'll come here? They're already here, Webb said. That Russian trucker you've been helping with his customs problems? Viktor Petrov? He's not just hauling legitimate freight. Tony felt something cold settle in his stomach. Viktor's a good guy. Sends money to his family in Moscow. Works hard. Viktor's a good guy who got pressured into carrying human cargo, Collins said. 3 weeks ago, he transported 12 teenage girls from Juarez to Chicago. They threatened his daughter back in Russia if he didn't cooperate. The diner went silent, except for the hum of the refrigeration units. You want me to flip him? Tony said. We want you to save him, Webb corrected. And the girls. And the dozens of other drivers they've got trapped in the same situation. But we need someone who can move in that world, speak their languages, understand their culture. Tony looked around his diner. 30 years of peace. 30 years of simple problems with simple solutions. 30 years of being nobody important. I'm 65 years old, he said. My reflexes aren't what they used to be. My Arabic's probably rusty. Collins smiled. The AI analysis says your Arabic is better now than it was in 1987. You've been practicing, haven't you? Late at night, when the